Hi, and welcome to FrazlCast. Climb aboard the GNOME train.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
Please make sure to keep your limbs and experimental instruments inside the train at all times. And now, on with the show.
A podcast by a Blizzard fan gnome about World of Warcraft and geeky stuff. I promise you, they do talk about the World of Warcraft. They just go off the rails sometimes.
And tonight, there is really no way that we won't be able to talk about the World of Warcraft because I am Frazley and I am joined by Manny of For Azeroth, Rolling Restart, and Rested XP. So, I mean, first I gotta say, how do you do it with all those podcasts and streaming?
I'm sorry, you're asking me how I do it? Really? This is Kettle calling the pot black here?
Oh, that is true.
I work with like some great people. In all of these shows, I don't have to do like all the work. Rested XP, I'm working with Turarts and Sharku, and that's awesome. And we're talking about basically life experience stuff. That's about wellness and mental health and social issues from the lens of a gamer. So I just need to come up with a topic and then discuss my views of that and how I think things can be better. So like that one requires very little prep. Rolling Restart is with Ro, and that man knows how to command a conversation, and it's always great. And for Azeroth, I mean, I'm working with a legend there. That's like Jocelyn Kearney. So with that, like, the conversations just flow, and you want to talk about getting off topic. We are always going on tangents there that show, like, I do craft so much love into the Faz show notes. I may pour like something like 4 or 5 hours into those notes every week, but it's Warcraft. I love Warcraft.
And who doesn't love Warcraft? And especially after today with like the Ardenville cinematics and stuff like that. I mean, all these cinematics have been hitting out of the park. Now, the only downside is it sounds like we're probably not going to get the 15th or possibly the 22nd. I know Mr. GM posted out that they are expecting the 29th, and I'm like, please, Blizzard, at least be the 22nd. I want the pre-patch.
Nah, man. I seriously think that because they've split out everything with like 9.01 versus 9.02, that's them saying that the next 2 weeks were focused on pure balancing and stability, and then the rest of the stuff is going to get sort of backlogged so that they can work on it while we're in pre-patch stuff. So I do not expect it to be earlier than the end of the month, and that is just so that we can get like basically a month of pre-patch for them to get additional data from a larger audience. That
makes a lot of sense because all the systems that are coming in, and I guess by then that would actually make October like if we're having the Scourge invasion, it October will be zombie month.
Yeah. I like always with the patches, they have like a week of let's make sure this is stable, and then they start going through stuff. But I would really love just like 3 weeks of Scourge invasion of like escalating like insanity, and then in the second week it's like that's when the storyline goes where they're like, we need to have some sort of reprisal here. I think that works sort of thematically.
It really does, because I know that they're going to tone it back a little bit, but it would still be pretty cool to be like walk out of anywhere, and like I've heard people wanting to like take shelter over in the Netherstorm. Stay there because we have all this stuff over there. You don't ever have to come back to Stormwind.
They did have it escalating before, where it started off weaker and then got progressively worse, and the buff became like uncurable at a certain point. Yeah. And the fact that you can now opt out of it by turning off PvP, turning off war mode, right? I think that they can just go more full hog in this and be like, yeah, week 3, if you want to do something, turn off your PvP, because otherwise it's just going to be the Scourge running out the entire show.
Oh, and you know, this actually meant to turn on more mode, because I want those well, I say this now until it happens, but I want that insanity. I want all that stuff to be like, I can't make it. But you know, someone in our community though who has war mode on and is a fully commanding force. That is Epic Insanity. And Epic Insanity, what time is it?
It's time to go around the table.
Great idea. What have you been up to recently?
So most of my time actually is between Warcraft radio projects because we're gearing up for some stuff. One of the announcements, if you have watched the latest Realm Maintenance, is that they were talking about the podcast directory 2.0, which will be coming out soon.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a lot of work that they're putting into it, that we're putting into it. There's so many Warcraft radio shows. There's even more shows that are just about Blizzard games. And if you ever were thinking like, oh, I want to find a show about X game, like that is like a pretty extensive, if not complete listing where they like put all of that sort of stuff out there, and you can find something that is your flavor for you. And they're like allowing people to review stuff and rate them so that like it becomes kind of like iTunes for the Blizzard community.
Nice.
Right? And there's so many features in there. Like I'll be super happy to talk about it fully like once it's released. But like, yeah, anybody who wants like all the nitty gritties, like Ro and Ath, we're talking about it on Realm Maintenance and all the stuff that they're doing. So there's other stuff that's coming out. I can't talk fully about it because it's not fully realized yet and it's not ready to discuss, but that's been great, and I've been really enjoying working as part of a big team. Like I was talking about community before, and like it just gives me life.
Yeah.
Right?
It's funny that it gives you life, and we're heading into the Shadowlands. That's all about death.
I'm going to come in with like so much anima to share.
Yes.
And then talking about Shadowlands, I've been planning for raiding because we were talking about like Shadowlands now being like set for October 26th in North America, October 27th in other sections of the world in Europe and in Asia. And even though that's one date people are thinking about, well, the raid Nathria comes out 2 weeks later. So I have had to sort of do like some scrambling and start putting stuff together for the raid team so that we're like in good shape to raid. And unfortunately, I've come to the realization that not all of us are going to be raid ready in like 2 weeks after launch. Some people like to take more time than that, right? They're not going to rush through it like me, who's going to like probably do it. Actually, I am going to do it in a night. I'm not going to kid anybody. It's a plan. There will be announcements about that later because I think I'm going to stream the entire thing. I'm going to like marathon stream through that. So planning for the raid, and the way that I do that is with like spreadsheets and like trying to come up with like strategies and such and going through that. But in between that, mount hunting, because I've been doing the mount hunts. Anybody who follows me on Twitter has seen me doing like mount hunting and like competing with Shoe Boots and Vic. And that's other people have also been just like sharing pics of mounts that they've got. And it's like, it's pretty awesome when it's like, oh man, like, you got the Shards of Laren. How did you do that? You are going for the pet and you just so happened to kill the boss? Well, that's lucky. That's awesome. Or like even like I saw a video clip of a friend of the show, Battle Girl Chess, and she was just doing runs in Ice Crown, and she's just like, "Come on, man, just drop the mount. I'm tired of this." And it's like Arthur's Herder, and boom, there was the mount, and just like the sheer joy. And so like, I love sharing that with people and having that shared with me. Beyond that, it's like beta testing because we're now in heavy numbers thing. So I really want to make sure that like the classes that I'm playing come out nice. So I'm giving a lot of feedback on that. And that's it for WoW. Outside of WoW, still video games, Dead by Daylight.
Oh, yes.
That. Yeah.
How long have you been playing that game? Because I only recently started.
I want to say that it's a year. It might be less. I got into it because Joss was really into it. And she was just like, yeah, no, you got to play. And then she like literally gifted me the game. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play. And then I got addicted. Absolutely addicted.
It is so good. Like, I will say, like, I'm starting to get better at the skill checks because I'm always like, fuck, whenever I miss that skill check.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, you have your good days, you have your bad days. I've had, like, people, like, get up and just get away from my gen.
Like, don't ever come back.
It's like, you know what? You go lure the killer over there with your gen pop, and I ain't gonna deal with that. And then I've had, like, just, like, times where I've just been like, oh my goodness, I'm on fire. But the game comes and goes, and I just love it as a short game that I get to jump into and jump out of, where WoW is, like, the dedication game. It's a good change of pace. And then beyond that, it's just learning because, like, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic and I don't get to go out as much as I choose. So I've just been using my extra time to like learn different things. So I've been learning French through Duolingo recently, going through the modules and trying to brush up on that. And I've been learning various programs, and the programs are mostly around like design, graphic design, and streaming, so that I can like make my stream actually good because I started streaming. And that thing has been a very rapid evolution of just like, I like that, I think that looks cheesy, and then going back and changing something and making it look just a little bit more polished. And I think it's to a good point right now. People seem to say, like, actually comment and be like, yeah, it looks pretty professional. And I'm very happy with that because that's all self-built. That's all just me like piecing things together and learning how to do it.
The skill of like the OBS and the streaming, like I know Blizzard Foundation uses vMix when they're not doing their BlizzCon, but a lot of places are starting to use OBS now, and it's incredible how that skill, if you ever want to go into like actual broadcast, you already had a lot of the skills. Like I know like Spencer's shown his work setup, and I'm always like, oh, that would be amazing. It's not his personal setup, but that would still be cool if that was like his personal setup whenever he did the starting zone.
Nice. Yeah. My setup is very cobbled together. One day I'm going to like tear it apart and I'm going to take a picture of it. And then like 5 years later, when I've lived down the shame, then I'll share it with everybody. Yeah.
I started on a folding table and like literally like the middle was caving in on itself. My monitor, I think, was not on it, but yeah. Then I finally moved to a desk this year. But yeah,
very nice. But it looks so professional. Like, what is that mic? That is not a cheap investment mic, if my eyes deceive me.
Oh no, it is the Shure SM7B. That was my like biggest purchase like pre-pandemic. It was the last thing I ever bought in a store. Walking out of the store, it was like literally like days before they said no more going to stores, really. So it's been worth every single penny. And like Atosh has upgraded to it on the on Half Hill, and like you can tell it is there. Like you don't have to have a fancy mic, as you know, but it helps a lot.
Oh yeah, I'm using this here, this Blue Yeti. That is the everyman mic, but it does the work. It's very good. You don't have to spend a fortune to get a good stream going.
No, not at all. And like I'd say streaming's even easier than the podcasting, because with the streaming, if you add just a little bit of background music with like Pretzel, you can get rid of a lot of that extra stuff that might come through on a podcast. Because podcasting is where I think you have to have a little bit better audio, because you really want to be in their ears, and you feel like you connect with it. And I finally have this show to the sound that I want. It's taken me years to get to the sound.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Like, I think that one of the things that people actually overlook when they're streaming is the audio quality.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, like having a mic that people can hear you clearly is so much how you connect with people. Because if people are going to watch gameplay, there's YouTube videos, there's so much for that. People come to the stream to like catch like you, Frazley. They want what you provide and add to the stream. And the way that you add that is typically through your commentary, and like, you know, some of the zaniness helps. Yeah. But
yeah. Because as somebody was saying, streaming, it's the personality that you're connecting with. I just past week saw one of Leon Lush's first streams, and it was cool to be like, Leon Lush didn't actually say hi to me because they had so many people in chat, but it was cool to be like, that's that person I see on YouTube. They're right there live right now. It was like, I do streaming, but it was weird having that validation as a viewer be like, this is that magic moment where you're like, I'm with that person right now. And that's one reason why I like this, because it's always nice being together with other people on this podcast. Like, because sometimes it can be pretty lonely, and especially if you're playing a game like Bendy and the Ink Machine, where Bendy will appear out of nowhere, or you go down a hallway, you come back up, and there's a cutout of Bendy that was not there before. So I beat that game, loved it. Like, it was freaky. I cannot wait for the next Bendy to come out. It's supposed to be out sometime this year. Then the other game that I played was Tell Me Why Chapter 1. I need to beat Chapter 2 and 3. Unfortunately, my stream cut out right at the ending of chapter 1, so the stream did not get to hear me say, "Holy shit!" to the ending of chapter 1. It was this moment. I'm like,
Mind blown?
yeah, and like no one saw me. I was like, I looked down. Oh, the stream is offline. We had bad weather Monday night, so really I should not have streamed. But I thought, oh, okay, it's passed. We can go. Yeah, no, internet was like, nope, I'm not going to be there for you tonight. And then in WoW, finally got the Vitreous Stone Drake from Slabhide. So I've been running mounts, especially in the dungeons, off stream, sometimes still doing on streams. But one day I was off stream, just like went in and I kept smacking Slabhides like the dungeon 9 times.
Yeah.
And finally on like the 8th time, before I got to the instance limit for the hour, it dropped. So never ever have to go back to Deep Home for that. I still have to go get the mount that flies around, but one of those days.
Aeonax. Yeah, I mean, I run Slabhide, I think roughly 6 times a day when I do run that one. So I've got it pretty much down to a science on like Demon Hunter, Warrior, and my Shaman. So like the entire run will take me roughly, I'd say about 2 minutes per character to like just get to it. And I'm just like, maybe I should just push for the instance limit. Maybe I should, but I just never want to like go to that level.
Jakun, though, still eludes me, and I had a moment on stream where I literally yelled out, "What?" I got one of the raid sets on Dawn of Thunder. I'm glad to have a raid set done with Dawn of Thunder, but you got me thinking that I had gotten what I was looking for from Jakun. So I have Horde and Spawn. I just need Jakun.
Yeah, I'm glad to have that one, because that's really deep into the instance. So that's quite a push you have to go to get to him.
Oh yeah, because you got Magera, which like takes forever. You're just like, rampage already, and then you have the slugs that kill you and all that. Ugh. But do you know what isn't pretty deep in is history? Because history is all the way back behind us.
Okay.
So I want to know, how did you get into gaming? It's one of my segues that makes Allie eye roll every time I do it.
Oh man, okay. So way back when, I came across an old Nintendo which had the combination Duck Hunt Mario, and I played that with my sister. We got super frustrated at Duck Hunt and hated that laughing, snickering dog, and decided that we liked Mario better, and that was sort of my introduction to gaming. And then my grade school friend and I continued to play gaming. He had immigrated from Japan, and so had brought over a Super Famicom, and I got to play like the Dragon Ball Z game on the Super Famicom, and just was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like you just do like fireballs that like stretch across screens and all of that. And then it just progressed from there. Like I just loved getting into gaming.
From there, how did you go from there into World of Warcraft?
I wasn't truly a PC gamer that much. Like some of my friends would like set up games and we would play, but like I never really had that strong of a computer. When I was in high school, my friends actually, for a charity drive, we set up games on the school computers and ran our own little cyber cafe to raise funds. And so we were playing StarCraft, and we were playing like Doom, or was it Unreal? And we were playing some shooter at that point. And that's when I really started like liking PC games. So then I really got into Blizzard games with Warcraft 3. That was like when I was like, oh, this is an RTS with a story. And I like really gravitated to it and got involved with it. And I just loved the thing. And I eventually got the collector's edition of Warcraft 3 and played that like crazy. And like my friends and I played competitively against each other, playing like the multiplayer and like swarming with chimeras, or playing like the casters and all that. And that was like really that I got into like Blizzard games and World of Warcraft. So then my friend graduated from that and went into World of Warcraft and was like, oh, do you want to play that? Because we play Warcraft all the time. And I was just like, is that like EverQuest? And he was like, yeah, it's kind of like EverQuest. And I'm just like, no, man, I ain't gonna play that. That's a time sink. That's gonna like drain my life. Forget it. But like he was in the like beta and all of that, and So I was like, after I come over to his place a couple times, I was like, you know what? Like, let me give it a shot. And 15 years, almost 16 years, how many expansions and how many shows am I doing later? I was 100% right. That was a time sink. I lost my life that I can't.
Yeah, and like, isn't it weird as a content creator, you actually spend less time playing the game than if you weren't in the content creation?
Like right now I'm able to balance both, but yeah, once I'm able to like return to some sort of normalcy, I'm not going to have as much time for it as I would love.
That's why it's good that you do like a lot of spreadsheets, because I don't know if it was on this show or another show. You mentioned that you have spreadsheets.
Yes, I run various spreadsheets for my raid team. It allows us to like just quickly help each other out. So people know who does what profession, people know what gear they have, or if they're like missing enchants in that. Like literally there will be times where like people are, where I'll just send messages and be like, hey, make sure your stuff is enchanted. And they'll either reply back, be like, hey, like, yes, I've already got that covered, or they'll be reminded and they'll take care of it. It also helps when I'm able to give people just like a heads up of like how you can handle things and that, so we can like get through it and like get back to the raiding that we love. But I'm not even alone in that. One of our people who raid with us, Brox/Kalawa, he does spreadsheets for all of this stuff. So even if I wasn't around, I know it's covered. And it's such a good learning tool and helping tool for our community and our raid team. So, I mean, I love numbers, and it just helped, and I see the benefit of it.
I assume that like you do like the different formulas, or you do like maybe like this spreadsheet talks to this spreadsheet.
So I can do conditional formatting and all that stuff. And yeah, Miss Susie, learning Excel is very helpful. You could even learn Excel through like YouTube videos. Sometimes it's just about learning basic things and being like, oh, okay, I was trying to do this. How in the world do I do conditional formatting? How do I do limited input? So I can like literally a couple of weeks back, it's like, okay, so they've announced that Shadowlands is coming out in October. And I threw up a spreadsheet being like, tell me you're wanting to raid. Tell me what class and what spec and what role you want to do. And the class, spec, and role were all drop-down menus that people can be like, oh, I want to be a warrior, and I want to be a protection warrior, and that means that you're a tank. And it would just like intelligently go through those. It's fun when you can do it, but it's also a job skill. I do like taking something that I enjoy and learning it so that I can apply it for other things. It's always fun because you're starting with something fun and then you're turning into something pragmatic that you get to throw on your resume.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I started doing a newsletter for DPS, and now work, I may at some point be doing a newsletter for work. And it's amazing. I built a skill for doing podcasting that now works for this.
And if you don't want to learn that, there are actually different things that actually will allow you to copy a Google spreadsheet and then add in your roster, and it'll auto track for you. So like you don't have to learn Excel or Google Sheets yourself. You can like literally take a copy that's a template, be like, okay, let me go find this person on this realm, and it will auto track a litany of stuff that it'll just drag from the API and make the spreadsheet for you. So like that's been like a wonderful thing. And I was using that partway through Legion, all the way through BFA, and I'll continue using it into Shadowlands.
That's incredible. I never even thought about pulling data from other things using like APIs.
Yeah. Somebody logs out, and I know what they logged out in.
Wow. Wow. It kind of reminds me of like the jailer in Shadowlands. I know where you are, what you're doing.
I mean, I came first. He kind of stole it from me.
Exactly. Yes. So in gaming, what is one of your favorite gaming memories?
One of my favorite gaming memories was the end of Final Fantasy X. I love the Final Fantasy series, and Final Fantasy X was the first time that they had done voice acting. That meant that they had to cement the script a lot earlier than they normally do. People who have played Final Fantasy 7 and 8, there are moments in there that don't quite make sense to the story because they were changed very late in the development, and they had that freedom. When they introduced voice acting, it meant that they had to solidify the script to give to the voice actors, and they couldn't bring back voice actors as easily to make changes to the script. So the story in Final Fantasy X, I think, is the most complete and sustained plot in all of Final Fantasy. And so I really loved after I played through that game and got to the ending, and it all just came together so nicely with an ending you can know is coming, but is still so rewarding. And so, that's one of my favorite memories in video gaming.
Did you replay it on the PS3 and PS4 when they did the re-releases?
No. I played it the first time, and I had multiple save files that were like over 100 hours, and I played that thing to death. But
okay.
I didn't pick it up again when they did like HD remasters and such. Because
I enjoyed back when they were doing it, the concept of like picking up on the Vita and then like transferring it over to my PS3 and then back over to the Vita. I never beat Final Fantasy X, but I enjoyed my journey that I did. I got up to like pretty much the first water level, and then I think I got distracted by something else shiny, and then I did not come back.
I mean, like, I had that thing down to like a Final Fantasy X along with Final Fantasy VIII are two of the Final Fantasy systems that were most broken. The overdrive in Final Fantasy X had different conditionals, and so you could eventually unlock different ways of powering up your overdrive. And so what I ended up doing was switching the one that whenever you killed an enemy, you would get a portion of your overdrive back. And then I would use the overdrive, kill 5 enemies, get my overdrive back. And the rest of the game was just making sure I switched out everybody so they got some experience, kind of like you're playing Pokemon, and just one-shotting everybody.
Oh, nice. You felt like a god, and they're like, yeah!
Super great. And then the other moment that I want to talk about for like video gaming is the first time I beat Chrono Trigger. It was such an epic thing, and it's still to this day my like favorite RPG and favorite video game in history. And it's just like, you do that ending, and it's just, here's a collection of all the people's lives that you touched and all these events that you did, and it was just such a oh my goodness, what a journey I've been on, and I love that game.
I can relate in a way, like there was a game I played that did that, and you're looking back and you're like, oh, I remember that one. Yeah. And I've never played Chrono Trigger. I probably should at some point.
I'm going to go with Cap here. Frog for the win. Absolutely was such a great character. He's the cursed knight who wants to protect the realm, and you find out about his history and all of that. And all of the characters have so much. You go into their story, and they each have... You've played Mass Effect 2, right?
Yeah.
So you know those loyalty missions where you find out about each character, right?
Yeah.
Everybody in Chrono Trigger has a end game scenario where you find more about their story and like their origins and that sort of stuff, and it unlocks their like super final weapon that you get to take into the end game. Each of those characters already had like great story through there, but that's a game that I just love. And honestly, Frazley, you can get that game on iOS, for iPad, for iPhone. You can grab that on Steam because they did a port to Steam. It's on almost every system manageable, including PlayStation, where they first added the cutscenes that were, because the character designer is the same designer who did Dragon Ball. So like it's kind of got some Dragon Ball sort of esque nature to it, and they did the cutscenes, and it's so good. But yeah, go check it out.
I absolutely will. While I'm editing this, I always will look up things that have been mentioned in the show, and I will add things to my Steam wish list. Ooh, see, that's why I love podcasting. Is I love finding people's passions, and I love finding things that make you happy. Just like seeing your face light up right now, and also you're wearing a Zelda hat too. So it's
and there's Metroid and there's Mega Man on my shirt too.
Nice. You're representing everything. Nice. And you're using Apple earbuds. And the reason I say that is because Team Fortress 2 has these Apple earbuds that everybody on Steam keeps. I get messages saying, hey, you can't have your Apple earbuds. I actually have it in my Steam profile that, no, you can't have my Apple earbuds. So with podcasting, how did you get into podcasting? Because we talked about your extensive podcasts of For Azeroth, Rolling Restart, and Rested XP. But what got you started?
Because I was a fan of a show of podcasting. I was a fan of For Azeroth. So I listened to For Azeroth. It went on hiatus as one of those very demanding fans, I went to Joss. I'm like, no, Josh, you can't let the show die, right? And I like even went to like very odd ends to like figure out like what I wanted to do for it. And eventually she came to me and she's like, hey, like if you want For Azeroth to continue, why don't you co-host with me? And before that, I hadn't even thought of co-hosting or doing any podcasts. Like I'm just like, podcasting, that ain't me. Then I thought about it. It wasn't immediate yes, because I'm just sort of like, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't have much of a setup for this. And eventually I was like, yeah, no, like I would love to do this. And I am blessed to have Joss as a friend. I knew her before she got into podcasting. And then we reconnected when she started up the Angry Chicken with a move, right?
Yeah.
And it was literally, I was on Twitter and being like, talking about the show, tweeting out to the show, and she was like, oh yeah, that's cool, and she started following me, and we followed each other. And then I was talking to another friend of mine, and she was just sort of like, hey, wait a second, you know him? And I'm like, yeah, that's my best friend. It's like, wait, are you that Manny? And I'm like, yes, I am that Manny. She's like, hey, I know you. And then I was like, oh, I feel so awkward. Who's this Jocelyn person? And then I had to go back and remember, and then, yeah, we became friends, and then For Azeroth restarted, and I got into podcasting, and it was shaky at first, and then I eventually learned the way that I get to talk and how I podcast, and I've sort of grown out from there, and like it hasn't always been like amazing. I've had times where I've tried to start up things, like I had Gaming Entertainment News Tonight, had a great couple of episodes, but my co-host unfortunately had like too many things to juggle with real life, and that show ended. But working and learning from that, like now I get to work with with all these great people, and it's just been such a journey.
When you first started, what like mic did you start using? Because like right now you use a Yeti, but did you start on the Yeti?
No, I started on a headphone mic. And people were incredibly surprised how good that headphone mic was. I also had the advantage of nobody online knowing what my real voice sounded like. So they're like, yeah, that sounds like a natural voice, even if it wasn't really my voice. And they're like, yeah, I can accept that voice and not be like robot-y and tingly and stuff. So you can get away with a headphone mic if the headset is good. My headset was like a Razer, cannot remember the exact thing, but it was like a Razer mic. The headset was ridiculous. It had its own sound card. It was a $200 headset from like years back. Because of that, it was passable. It was 100% passable. But then eventually Joss was like, yeah, let's get you an upgrade. And again, because I have like such a legend, she was able to help me get this Blue Yeti.
Nice. And yeah, it is amazing how like those mics bring out even more of the voice. But yeah, I bring that because like even though we had to talk about mics in the beginning, I do like people to know you start where you are, and like I guess when you started, there's probably a moment where you're questioning if do I really want to stay with this?
I keep putting myself as atypical. I am standing on the shoulder of giants here. I have been helped every step along the way, and that's helped me find my groove. But in typical fashion, I tell people, you're not going to start perfect. Stop aiming for perfection. It's never going to happen. You can have an ideal and work towards it, but you can only work towards it if you take your first step. So record an episode, record the next episode, improve upon that each step of the way, and eventually you're going to be in a really great spot. But don't keep going back and trying step one because step one wasn't perfect. You're just never going to go anywhere that way.
Yeah. Kind of like what, like sometimes just press publish. And like, I even published the audio that is actually now archived. I published my first episode where like the audio was so out of sync with everything else. I published it for about the first 2 years, and then just recently said, I'm finally going to archive this away. And yeah, as Lance Blizz Gamer says, just have fun. And that is one thing that like I can tell from you, and hopefully people can tell from me, is that passion, that like you want to be passionate when you're talking, and you want to work up to the passion, because it's taken me a while to really get into that passion and get to that confidence. But you want people to listen and be like, oh, I want to do this. I want to be on fire. I want to enjoy what they're enjoying. Like today, you've been talking about all these games. I'm like, I want to play that. I want to do that. You're getting me excited.
Oh yeah, like if you have that enthusiasm and it's communicated, people are gonna latch on. People are gonna love it. Like I'm like Lance in chat. I know that name. That guy's a guy who's in the community who's like talking about that, and so like I know that name.
Yeah,
right? We know Cap, even though he's not even on his main account. He's like running Iron Sheik Jr. and I'm like, Iron Sheik Jr. I love wrestling, and it's like it's all that passion that's in there and all that community, and that's another part of it is like, hey, you're gonna have passion and you're gonna have times where it becomes more of a chore.
Yeah,
but like. The passion helps you put together your practices, your best practices, and then your determination, along with your best practices, is going to hold you over till you get that passion back again. But there are going to be times when you're going to be trudging along because the passion isn't quite there, and you've got to make sure that you are trying to find the passion in something. BFA has been rough for a lot of people. Some people have hated one thing or another. But in that time, I've loved raiding. I've just kept on raiding, right? And I might not have loved the Benthic Lotto, but I loved other parts of it, and I focused on that. And like, I get passion is there in both negative and positive. Like, if you hate something, right? Don't sugarcoat it. Say you hate it, but say your piece and move on. Very few people want to deal with somebody who just hates every aspect of everything and that's all they talk about. At a certain point, that just becomes absolutely draining. And that point, you need to find what you love and focus on it. If pet battling is your thing, then have some things where you're like, oh man, like I was pet battling and stuff, and then like some guy tried to gank me, and then it just turned into a 4-hour PvP fiesta and like all of that stuff. And that's a great story. And you didn't have to go on about like how you think like the MDI is ruining a Mythic Plus or whatever your current gripe might be. Yeah,
like I'll be honest, I know the whole battle right now going on for Shadowlands with like the Ripcord, but I don't quite understand it. So I'm like staying out of that. I'm like, I'm letting the people that know what's actually going on with the governance and stuff talk about that. I'm just gonna enjoy that. Like, oh, I'm so excited for Art Wheel. I'm so excited for like all the different things I get to see there. Yeah. It's definitely finding your niche. Like I used to cover everything on this show, like news and stuff like that. I did not do it well. That's when like I said, okay, I'm going to focus on people and focus on the people in this community. I love when someone says, hey, I started watching a streamer or started listening to a podcast because I heard about it on your show. I'm like, yes, that's what I want. I want people to know what amazing stuff there was. I was listening to All Things Azeroth. There was an ad for Realm Maintenance, which you described in the beginning of this episode. And that's what got me into all these other podcasts, was hearing Rose say, hey, you listen to this podcast. There's a world of podcasts out there. I can show you a world. Many podcasts to listen to. I'm also not a good singer, but I still enjoy singing when I'm. But I want to know, what has been one of the best things to happen to you since you started podcasting?
I keep saying community. I'm going to keep saying community. The friendships and relationships that I've forged in this community, either because of podcasting, have been so great. I would have never had the time to like sit down and talk with like half the people because I would have been just too afraid to reach out to them. And then on that note, it's sort of like, go ahead and reach out to them. They are people, right? Like they are definitely looking to talk with people. And some of the great friendships that I have aren't with like, you know, names that anybody knows. I keep talking about Battle Girl Jess, right? And I consider her a friend. She was just somebody who like wrote into the show and is like an active part of many communities. She's a light in not only the community, she's a light in the world. And so like having friends like that really helps keep my enthusiasm up. Because of podcasting, I got to rekindle a friendship with Jocelyn, and she's like such a great friend. And a big part of like how we've managed to like reconnect, and like pretty much like the biggest reason we've reconnected is because of podcasting, her podcasting initially, and us doing a podcast together. And like we're great friends. And I went to her wedding, and I don't cry often, but that was beautiful. And like I'm so happy about that. Getting to meet Ben from Azeroth Roundtable at that wedding, like, oh, oh yeah, I loved your podcast, and I was geeking out and being like, I gotta, you know, and like Garrett being like, I'm such a fan, Mr. Wines Earl. And now we're just friends, and it's just awesome. And like I got to like message him one time and be like, hey, as a like aspiring podcaster, what should I do? And then he just replies back and says, you're not aspiring anymore, Manny, you're a podcaster, shut up already. And it's just it's all of that is like the greatest stuff that's come out of podcasting, not the like access to whatever, right? Like the fact that I got to get into a beta, great, right? The fact that I got to go into an event realm was like something that was like, yeah, oh my goodness, an event realm, an exclusive event realm, and like being like super happy about that. But like that was lasted about 2 days before, like, and I think like 24 hours before the NDA came off and all of that. It was the friends you made along the way.
Exactly. And that's really like what I've enjoyed so much too is the friends. Like the fact that I get to sit down with you right now and talk with you. I love that. I love, like, I feel like I'm becoming a better friend with you just by doing this. When I was at BlizzCon for the first time last year, I told everybody, because it is true, this around me is Blizzard. I know, like last year, even in 2019, there were things people had issues with like the games and the company. I was like, I'm looking at Blizzard around me. I'm looking at these people that I've seen, like looking over at one table, seeing Talius and Eventel talking to all their fans, like seeing people. I was sitting next to Loch Ness at a meet and greet, and then like just people that are there, and you're just like, wow, that's cool that like it makes it real.
Yeah, and like talking with these people has been so amazing. Honestly, we have this interview, but you and I talk like at least once a week, if not more, right? It's just a friend now, and like he's just like, hey, want to come on my show? It's like, hey, any excuse to talk with,
yeah,
right?
I like talking with podcasters because you're comfortable. And I do like that. I like it when the podcaster's comfortable behind a mic, but I also love talking with new people because I always love hearing Allie's story about how she gets on World of Warcast. And then I brought her on FrazlCast, and then like she was on a few other things. And then she started Dungeon Fables. And now look at it. She has a Patreon. She's on Twitch. She's a Twitch affiliate. And I'm looking at this like, I have seen one of my friends grow. And like that part has been really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch people go through. And I remember her like her first test stream, which was like, I think about a month before she started doing it like legitimately.
Yeah.
And like, even in that short period of time, it's just like, boom, like the change there is like, and like the growth, and like, just, you don't know what you can do until you do it. And that's not just for like people who are like currently doing well. It's for like people who like might be like lurking in a Twitch stream and being like, do you think I can do that? And it's like, yeah, you can. Like, if I can do it, I'm not special, right? Like, yeah, anybody can do it. You just have to find the way that you can do it, which might be different than the way I do it.
I like doing things to inspire people. Like back in 2011, I put a song on iTunes. If you search up my currently legal name of Jonathan Bloom, you'll find a song that's really pretty shit. It's I've got TVs in my brain, but I did it because I was like, I want to show people that you can do it. And I do the podcast because I love doing it, but I want to show people you can do it. And the streaming, look at it. Allie's now guesting on World of Warcast. Allie's guesting on Merely a Setback. Allie's on Live Laugh Lore with Jen. I mean, yeah, it takes getting past that comfort level. And Allie, if you listen to this, we love you so much. So keep being awesome.
Yep, you and Sniper Frog, like you're my power couple.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I was watching Sniper Frog play City of Heroes recently, and I'm like, oh, I love it. That's why I also love Twitch. Is like one night I was just doing some work, and it was one of my off nights, so I was just on watching him play the City of Heroes, and it showed me why I also love Twitch again. And I want to know, you've started Twitch like 4 or 5 months ago?
Oh man. Okay, so I started Twitch the very end of May. So yeah, roughly 5-ish. Like we're reaching month 5 once we've cleared September.
Wow. Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like it's also been the longest March ever, so
exactly.
Has it really flying?
And how did you get into streaming?
So again, we were moving into the current state of affairs, and I had more time on my hands. And I was just looking for different projects, different challenges, and streaming just seemed like a natural sort of thing to like progress, where I could hop on a stream, engage with like the community if they showed up. Honestly, I was just like, I'm going to go live. If people show up, they show up. If they don't, they don't. and people responded. And so like I got in there, and it was just about learning different things. Honestly, if my Twitch had absolutely flopped, I still would have done it for like the 0 viewers or anything. But also learning those skills so that I can help other streamers. So like I am working with one streamer right now trying to rebuild their overlay in that so they can have a nicer overlay, and applying all the lessons that I've learned building my own overlay for them. And it's just something that I'm doing for a person that I consider a friend in the community. And once I polish my skills at that, that's just another thing that I'm able to do. So that was the original plan. The stream has been more successful than I had ever imagined. The fact that I got affiliate in like less than a month was insane. All the support that I've gotten, I got 4 raids on Tuesday. I couldn't believe it. It was like, it was insanity. Like, yeah, I was blown away. And that's, again, just, I'm getting carried by like this great community. I'm standing on the shoulder of giants. It is so amazing. But I just want to keep investing back into this community, because that's ultimately what's going to keep me in this game when I'm frustrated about whatever balance or numbers or whatever. It's the people that I play with. If you know me from For Azeroth, sure, but you might also know me as the guy who's trolling in like all things Azeroth, merely a setback, right? Running through on Morally Grey and that. I'm like, I just enjoy the community. I enjoy like all of this stuff. I'm talking with Ben and John, and we get into all those things, and apparently that was like the first of like, I think they're on a 3-week streak of heated discussions, because they brought me on, and then they brought both guys from the starting zone, and it was just like John being like, deep breaths, okay, let's keep this going. And it was great. It's just having people with different points of views and like different vantage points, and just talking about this common game that like we all love. And so I'm really appreciative of Azeroth Roundtable and Merely a Setback. Those guys like reached out to me and had confidence in me when I had no confidence in myself. And it's just like, anytime those guys ask, like I am there, except for that one time John asked, but we won't talk about that any further.
Oh, I want to hear more about this.
Well, John asked me to go on the show because Ben wasn't around, and so he got like 3 different guests, and I screwed up time zones, and I messaged him on the subway being like, I'm gonna be really late. And then there was a delay on the subway, and I showed up, and it was like an hour after the show started, and like luckily they carried the show, and it was great. But it was just sort of like is Manny gonna show up next week? Tune in next time.
Oh, to time zones. I've worked with people in Europe, and
they don't have daylight savings times. That's what got me.
I know it's so weird. Well, and then when I do the Friday night stuff with Spaz over in, like, right now it's his winter. Then when we go into our winter, it'll be his summer, and it's like then like we're gonna like jump time zones again, and I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
So streaming means a lot to different people. Like for you, what does it mean? Like you mentioned it briefly, but like what does it mean to you?
It's a chance for me to sort of interact with people more frequently. Like I have some people who I did talk to, but in a one-way sort of manner, because that's the nature of podcasting. I like pontificate into the air, and I don't really hear back from them unless they like write in an email or put in a very spicy review, and then I get to read it. Streaming allows like way more interaction, and so like the people who come in, sometimes like I'll just like pause the character and I'll just be like, let's actually talk about that, and we'll just go off into like our own little tangents and stuff like that. And that's what I love most about Twitch, is actually having that interaction. And so lately I've been trying to get a Tale of Two Sides on my Alliance Death Knight, and I don't know how to play Unholy, so I didn't look up any guides. I didn't look up the basic rotation. I was just like, I'm just gonna press this button, and things are dying because it's leveling content. It's fine. And then in comes in one person and they're like, hey, if you do this and this, it actually works better. And I'm like, okay, great. And then, hey, my rotation's getting better. And then another person's like, hey, you know what? There's this thing called Apocalypse, and it's really central to Unholy. And then I learned that. And so it became Twitch teaches Manny how to play Unholy. And that was a great thing. And now I love Unholy. I think it's a very dynamic spec. And so I just enjoy that interaction so much.
I have definitely enjoyed that. It was this February that I finally learned how to do interrupts on my characters. I had never known that interrupts was a mechanic, and wow.
Oh no.
And now every character I do, I'm like, okay, what are their interrupts? And now I'm always on top of that, but it's helped me not die as much.
Yes. Which characters are you playing? Before I saw you playing a Pally.
Yeah, right? A paladin, a hunter, a warrior, and a warrior. Absolutely, I should know when to pummel and all that, and then I also learned on my mage that I should be putting up shields. I learned on my priest I should be putting up shields. So yeah.
Yep.
It is helpful when Twitch helps you realize what you're doing wrong, and you can get that feedback to be like, oh yeah, you can do better. And one reason I love doing the show is I can get feedback, like Mr. Q saying, better late than never. Cap saying I create a monster because now he interrupts every interrupt on stream. I'm like, I interrupt. I announce every interrupt.
I worry that you're playing Legion with Safu's secret, and you're like, this legendary does nothing. It's like, yeah, because you got to use your CC, man. And it's coming back in Shadowland, so I guess you're going to get some good use out of that.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely know now the secret to Safu's secret.
Well, now it's Safu's proclamation, so it's slightly different.
Okay, so it's no longer a secret. It's like
he's just saying it loud, saying it proud. Use those interrupts.
Use those interrupts.
There we go.
Well, one voice that always interrupts me when I'm doing a podcast or stream is that voice. That voice that tells me I'm not doing good enough or I'm not going to be better than somebody else. Do you have that voice?
I think pretty much everybody who's not a sociopath has that voice. I am lucky because my ego renders me able to analyze what I'm doing. And I trust that nobody's perfect. I keep saying nobody's perfect because I have that. And I don't think everybody has that ability to muffle self-criticism. I can see that I'm doing something wrong. I can determine when I am using the same phrase over and over again, and it's something that I want to work on. But it doesn't destroy me immediately. It's something that I go, okay, noted, I'll try and improve, and I go from there. And I'm able to also determine what's within my control and what's outside of my control and focus on things and just be happy when I'm improving. That is something that I'm very happy, and I think because I have that, I'm able to be happy about it. But it's something that a lot of people struggle with, so I say it very much out loud so that everybody else can sort of realize that, yeah, nobody's perfect. You're going to make mistakes. Don't hang yourself over it. Keep trying to improve. That voice is there for pretty much everybody, and there will be days where you are worse and better. So don't expect every day to be constant improvement. That voice is a necessary part, because if you're not able to admit that you have any foibles, any mistakes, you're not able to improve. Your format, whatever you're working on, whatever your craft is, will stagnate. The same is true for podcasting. The same is true as if you're learning a class, like you're saying, Fraz, to be able to hey, oh, interrupts. And this is on all of my characters and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to make it a thing that I'm hey, interrupt. And that's what you use to learn. Perfect. That's awesome. And next you can learn about stuns or other forms of CC that you can use as pseudo interrupts. The fact that I'm just sort of oh, okay, I'm going to use Death Grip as an interrupt because you move a creature or any kind of forced movement and it disrupts their spellcasting. They have to recast all over again. You just build on, and eventually you're getting better parses. You start at 30-something% parses or 20-something% parses. You start hitting that 40 and you're in blue numbers, and congratulate yourself for hitting that and know that there is time to improve. And then you start hitting those 75% parses and you're hell yeah, I'm in purple numbers. And you're like, yeah, right? And then you keep going until you start being like, I'm not going to be satisfied until I get like 80% parses in every fight for my item level. And that is the road to improvement. It is about setting goals, which means that you need to know what you can improve on. That voice is core to that.
I enjoy the editing of the show because then I hear every foible that I do. I'm like, okay, I'll work on that next time. I'll improve that next time. Small goals, like sometimes on streams, I've got things I want to do with the stream, but I'm like, not today, but I will work on that next time. I'll work on that next time. And then one day your stream starts looking more like how you want it to.
Yeah, that's true too. One thing at a time. Honestly, like if you try and do everything at once, it is overwhelming. The biggest thing that I learned that in was when I was like trying to affect my weight. I had to do one thing at a time. It's get into a habit of exercising and then work on my diet and all of that. Because like I tried the first time, I was trying to do everything at once, and then like one thing fell out of place, and it was a house of cards, and I just fell back into it. And then when I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to like build on those sort of stuff, you're building on your own success. You're getting there. So that's true for everything, including podcasting. It's like, I'm going to work on my audio. I'm going to work on my speech habits. I'm going to work on, let's say it's Twitch. I'm going to work on the alerts because I want to make those alerts look nice. I'm going to work on my overlay because I want to make my overlay look nice. I'm going to work on my transitions. And those were all things that I did like one at a time. And it was a fast thing, but I didn't do all things at once and be like, I'm going to do a big rebranding. Because like, again, like, yes, it's been 5 months already, but all that stuff mostly happened the first 2 months. And then again, afterwards, when I was like, oh, I know a new trick and I'm going to make it better.
And I definitely find like it's never good for me to compare myself to somebody else because I don't see that the areas where like it took them the long time to get to where they're doing. I got to look at how am I improving, because if I try to compare myself to somebody else, I'll never reach them. And plus, I may have my own things that I want to focus on.
You have to look at yourself to identify room for improvement. But I think you can look at other people as inspiration on how to improve.
Yeah.
Again, like I keep saying that I had so many people to help me improve. And that is true whether they talk directly to you or you just go and type in like twitch.tv, boom. Like I'm going to like watch and like get some ideas and like, hey, one of these days I'm going to change this background and have lighting and have like the Twitch be able to like choose the lighting. Cause like, that's an amazing idea. That isn't something I came up with myself.
Yeah.
Boom. Right. Fraz, you do amazing promotion for your stuff and you juggle so many things. That's not something you just walk in and do. That's something you built up and learned. And like, I don't expect to be there like tomorrow. Right. But yeah. I can get there faster if I learn from you. So don't compare yourself to other people, but do seek out inspiration from people, especially when you've got such a great community like we have here.
I like that. And yeah, see, like I want to do something like that. And even like your first attempt at what they're doing may not be how they have, because they've done it for years. Like some of the workflows I do are like second nature to me. I'm on one podcast and I didn't even realize that I processed my audio after every single episode. And I was like, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you about that because I just do it automatically.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own journey, as Miss Susie Q is saying. But yeah, and that like we can learn from somebody else as part of the journey. The
proverb is like a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. Podcasting isn't something that was created yesterday. Twitch streaming isn't something that was created yesterday. I was talking about previous to the show that I want to switch from slobs to OBS. I have some difficulties and I don't have time to figure it out, but I'm lucky to be part of a community. I know somebody who's trying to make the same transfer and they're trying to figure out something, and then I can learn from them. And in the meantime, I'm working on something and they can learn from me. And in that way, we learn twice as fast when it would have taken us, both of us, that much longer to figure it out on our own.
Absolutely. You know, I meant to mention this earlier in the show. If you ever want another podcast or like a YouTube series, I think at some point I could see you being like a stream doctor. Or
I got to learn it myself first. I want to get some experience under my belt. But yeah, like it is something that it's like giving that sort of community feedback back is great. And hey, there's also stream doctors out there right now who I've also like looked up their videos and stuff and learned all of that. It's so great rather than trying to like plod through and figure it out myself, is that, yeah, there's so many resources out there. So if anybody ever asks, I can give like my quick tips, and I can also point to all these great resources, and you can like find what works for you and what tips you want to accept and what ones you think you have something unique that you want to break the rules for. But you kind of need to know what the traps are before you figure out your solution to it.
Yeah. I today added a thing to a video that actually Harris Heller, he brands himself as the stream doctor, he put out a free template that people could add to their videos, and I know that I was able to download it and add it to one of my videos. Yeah.
Nice.
In all of this, there's been learning, and like I've seen in my own life, I'm a different person. In fact, today my parents told me that I'm not the same person I was when I started all this, and there's a lot of truth to that for many different reasons. But like in your life, have you seen this stuff change you as a person in like your real life work or your other relationships?
I've been streaming for like 5 months. I have been podcasting for about 2 years. I am not a young man. I had to learn some hard lessons earlier that have helped shape me, and I'm glad that I had the support that I had early in life, as well as like the community I have now. But I have mostly brought in my life experience into podcasting and had a very warm reaction that has helped reinforce it. I haven't had anything that's completely changed my life in terms of like coming from podcasting itself. The best thing that has come from podcasting is that it has helped reinforce some things. Like I typically have a positive view of the world, and 2020 has not been something to reinforce that. But because I have the community that I have through podcasting, through like the online connections, I know there's great people all over the world, even with all the craziness that's happening out there. And that's helped keep me afloat in times where there's just a lot of chaos going on. So I think that the best thing that's come from podcasting is that it's reinforced that there is good in this world. Yeah.
Oh, so true. Well, Manny, I want to thank you again for joining me on FrazlCast. The time flew as it always does whenever like you stream or you podcast, and you're like, oh, holy carp, it's already time for me to head out. So where can people find you on the interwebs?
So the best place to find everything I do is on Twitter. So that's True Villain Manny, true without the E. That's where I post up when I am doing shows, when I am streaming, and more things that will be coming in the future. You can also track a lot of the things that I am working on through following Warcraft Radio. That is also on Twitter over at Warcraft Radio. And there's so much stuff that like I really am aching to tell you guys, but we just don't have all our ducks in a row. So like expect some big things to be coming out soon.
Man, the end of this year is gonna be like so great. And like I was talking to somebody about even why they're doing a virtual BlizzCon next year, because we were also talking about like what they could announce next year. And like I've already seen like the calls for Burning Crusade Classic, and I really do see that a classic Burning Crusade is definitely a real possibility. And so some of the ones that I've been talking about it have some sources that I'm like, they might know some stuff that they can't admit to, because it'd be like somebody leaked something from Blizzard.
Yeah, I hate when you get those staff that are like, I'm going to tease you mercilessly. It's like, hey, you guys, you like Ardenweald? Yeah, wait till you get a hold of Revendreth. And I'm just like, you can't tease me like this.
I know. I did not get a reply, but I tweeted at Muffinus saying, I am going to bet that you had us all select the mount that we want. You're going to surprise us by giving us the mount that we each selected. That's what, and like Muffinus didn't say back. I'm like, okay, so does silence mean that I'm on something, or does silence mean that he didn't want to?
That would be incredibly magnanimous. If they were like, hey, you get the mount that you voted for, and all the other ones, like even if they were like all the other ones are going up in the store, that would be amazing.
I would love that, because it'd be like, hey, you put your vote on the line for this one thing, so we're gonna give this to you, because that Caterpillar, that's the one that everyone should be voting for.
Yeah, right now it's like 33% in North America. Gee.
Or as Cap says, they're debating us to put up on the store and be like, Oh yeah, and I'm one of the ones that when I got back into WoW, I bought every mount a few months before. I did not know about the Black Friday sales, so I bought everything at full price, and I found out I could have saved half price by waiting.
No, the Black Friday sales were a joke. None of them were character services. I want my character service discount so I can like do a bunch of things. Please.
Oh yes. I remember when the Coterans were announced. I bought one of them when they were when the race changes were on sale, and I had it sitting next to that druid. And then once the Coteran was unlocked, I race changed to it.
See, you were smart. I didn't, and now I got to like pay for a server transfer for my DK because I want to get that over on Wormrest Accord and mess with some people over there. And maybe my priest I want to transfer over. Just come on, Blizzard. Just tell me when I can spend my money, and you'll get it.
Blizzard, let us know when it's safe to spend money.
Moonfire spam, make you humble. I can't do druid. I've tried every which way, and it just never clicked with me. It's the class that I think I've leveled part way the most and never gotten it to max level. So maybe I got to get.
I'm enjoying the Boomkin. That one is like my favorite class. I mean, like the Moonfire. It's DPS or ranged DPS.
Okay. Maybe I got to get you to teach me sometime.
Absolutely, I'll teach you for like maybe $45 an hour. Does that sound good?
Where's the interrupt again?
Yes.
Activating customized Orphan transporter.
Well, I am back at home of Ironforge until we one day reclaim Nomergon.
I'm a gnome.
Let's look at what has been happening in the community.
Awesome, let's do that. We talked about it earlier, but Shadowlands is coming very soon. I was speculating possibly the 15th, but now the 22nd or the 29th are looking even more likely. Until the pre-patch, runs for the Uncrafted Voidwing are happening right now. Follow @FriendshipMount on Twitter to find when these runs happen. Make sure to get your LTC before the Uncrafted Voidwing takes flight with the Shadowlands pre-patch. Who's ready to go to the barbershop? I am! Well, each group is raising money for a different charity. Perky Pugs has ended their runs for the time being, but they've raised over $13,000 for Rain at the time of writing these show notes. Plus, they got so many people to ALTC. They dedicated their final 3 runs to Maryland and raised funds for ASPCA, and in honor of them raised funds for ASPCA, an organization working to end animal abuse. Their fundraising campaign is still active as of the writing of these show notes on Saturday morning, and they've raised $570 of a $2,000 goal. Our good friend and fellow warrior Dust Mephisto is doing weekly AOTC carries, Horde on Saturdays and Alliance on Sundays starting at 3 p.m. Pacific until the Shadowlands releases. He is raising money this month for ASAN and has already raised over $3,600. And the Guild the Outcast is doing 1 to 3 runs per week to raise money for the Humane Society of Tampa Bay in honor of their friend Shady who passed away last year. Details are available in the Wildhead post. They are fundraising and also selling shirts with proceeds going to the cause. So far, they've raised over $2,600. And my friend Zozilla brought to my attention that the group at Reddit Dystopia is doing runs on Saturdays from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. They have a Discord where the raffles happen. I've got a link to those in the show notes. And then Icy Veins reports that Amara Strand, who created the currently unsolved Jennifer Secret, has a fundraiser going to raise money for fibrolamellar cancer research at Rockefeller University. The first hint gets revealed at $5,000 and the second hint at $10,000. And already they've raised over $3,900. And then our friend Garrisar of Technically PvP is doing a PvP pet battle tournament September 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. He says his plan is to run it over 1 day, maybe 2 if there's enough participants. And he says being that it's his first tournament, he's going with some simple rules, but he has some plans for future tournaments with more complex rules like pet swapping and more. And then Icy Veins shows that Fumble Turkey has used weak hours to turn WoW into a first-person experience similar to Skyrim. There are 2 videos, one of them being mounted and then they dismount and have combat, and second is a recreated Microsoft Flight Simulator cockpit. This is amazing, and you've got to see this. Hey, I don't think this is weak auras. This is really strong auras. And as we described it earlier in the episode, you have until Friday, September 18th to choose a mount that all players will receive in-game. As Blizzard describes it, this year we've all been called upon to overcome many things, and we are very grateful to you, our community, for being with us each step of the way during these uncertain times. In that spirit of unity, and as a token of our appreciation, we want to collaborate with everyone who owns Shadowlands to create a mount that you can ride across the realms of the afterlife. Make sure to vote in the poll by September 18th at 3 p.m. Pacific to choose which mount you'd like us to create. And I say you better be voting for the Caterpillar. I'm just saying. And people have been creating fan art of the 5 mount ideas. I have links to all the ones I've seen in the show notes. And then Dennis Stepanov has created some Bane Bloodhoof fan art, which I actually saw Bane Bloodhoof retweet on Twitter. Nozami shows off a Worgen commission that they did recently. And then Roy shows an awesome Rathian commission. And do you remember that rumored Southern Barons Warfront? Well, Wowhead shows some amazing concept fan art by Handclaw. As they point out, you may remember Handclaw's heritage armor for every class and race. This time, Handclaw has weapons, armor, and a loading screen. And then Henry Cavill made an amazing Witcher. Well, Wowhead shows that Redditor Giordi Gamer Guy has made a movie poster of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King, starring Henry Cavill as Arthas. Oh my god, yes! Let's do this, Blizzard! And then Jay the Bard has been busy this week with so many synthwave tracks. Night Song, the Hearthstone theme, Daughter of the Synth, For the Horde, a Warcraft 2 Orc synthwave, and that's just his WoW stuff! You should hear the Fable synthwave mix, his Skyrim Dreamwave, his Mega Man synthwave. I've got links to his Warcraft related stuff, but give him a sub and listen to his other stuff too. The man is truly a bard. And then Icy Veins has a devil surprise as they have the Diablo intro cinematic remastered by the YouTuber Upscale. And you know, we all look at our computer desktops, especially whenever WoW decides to crash, or we have to close the game to install patches during maintenance, like for an upcoming pre-patch. Well, Icy Veins has just got a roundup of Shadowlands wallpapers, like a borderless Shadowlands desktop wallpaper by Redditor Linway Saraland. And then they've also got wallpapers for the Afterlife's Maldraxxus and the Afterlife's Ardenweald cinematic. And then the Gold Dipper has an interview with Hykins, who has 400 million liquid gold. Holy fuck, did I just read that right? And then Dominionauts brought to my attention a new community called the Defias Sisterhood. This is a community built to foster gamers who play World of Warcraft and other games who face toxic behavior due to their gender identity, their sexual orientation, their race, and more. The goal is to promote and support our sisters in gaming by featuring them on our site, as well as providing information about mental and physical wellness. Our mission is to put a face to our sisters in the Warcraft and gaming community with the hope of reducing the toxicity, the cyberbullying, and the misogyny that many of us face on a daily basis. They note that we use the term sisters and sisterhood to denote any persons who are affected by misogyny and toxic masculinity in gaming. This is an inclusive term and refers to women, trans people, queer, non-binary persons, and much more. We also hope to include our male/masculine allies as members of the sisterhood to discuss their experiences with toxic masculinity and to make Azeroth a safe place for us all together. And before we leave this community section, I want to mention that there are beta giveaways going on right now. And just a few of the ones that are happening are Icy Veins, Blizzard Watch, Hottie Chicken, Dungeon Fables, Whispers of War, All Things Azeroth, Rolling Restart, and way more. Keep an eye out there. There's so many out there.
This has been another awesome episode of FrazlCast. Take it away, Frazzle Pants.
Thank you, Scruffy. And speaking of beta keys, who wants a beta key? Well, we have 5 of them to give away. What you need to do is give me a description of a zone in the Shadowlands that was scrapped during development. I will draw the winners this Friday, September 18th, after noon Eastern. You can email them to show@FrazlCast.com, tweet them to @FrazlCast, and also post them in the Shadowlands beta giveaway channel on the Discord. Comment on the post on Instagram and or Facebook. I gotta say, I've been laughing so much at the entries that have been sent in already. I love all of you. I wish I had more than 5 to give away, but I'm definitely gonna be reading off so many of these on the next episode of the show. And I was on Whispers of War episode 100 with Amanda of Geek Caring, Rig of Charactercraft, and Tom of 3 Extra Lives. We spoke on diversity and equality in gaming, and I gotta say also, grats to Sil for 100 episodes. And over on YouTube, we surpassed 100 subscribers on YouTube. So now youtube.com/Frazley now lives. Thank you all for your support on this. I love you all so much again. Thank you. And on YouTube, in response to my Ardenweald reaction video, Alamier says, Covenant buddies, I'm ugly crying again, and if anyone hurts my baby, Erelon, heads will roll. And then Ricardo says, thanks for the action, hugs to you. And then in response to my Fall Guys Death video, Kara says, ROFL, this game looks really fun. Oh, it is. Over on Patreon, I need to thank Cap and Sigillord, who are my current patrons. And then over on Twitch, I want to thank you all for your patience with the audio issues I had on a couple streams this week. I think I fixed what was causing the static/cutout stuff. Hey, streaming's always like a ball of twine being rolled up, and you're always trying to figure out what doesn't work. And on Twitch, every week, I thank those who give back to this show financially. Thank you to my Twitch subs out there. Thank you to Allie of Dungeon Fables and All Things Azeroth, Amanda of Geek Herring, Anna, Austin of Frank's Hostile Guild, Burkhart, Canadian Book Girl, Cap, CNC Panzer, Crunk, Cuffy of Charactercraft, Demi of Third Faction Show, Dennis, Epic and Sandy of Frozen Nerds, Vandangly, Fiesta Taco 1983, Gia Miabia, Grand Negus of Control at WoW and Corpse Run Radio, Halionics, Harlow, Hottie Chicken, Infinitori, Jen Eric Live, Jenny Gamers, Jetta Faye, Jendin, Carenza, Kawasaki, Lil Weird, Lucas Grandma, Lucas of Cardiac Valley, Mal, Marty of Two Nerds Maybe More, Mentally Alive, Michael of Two Nerds Maybe More and All Hollow Scream, Monica of Geek Herring, Only Shadowkin, Pandagosa, Heat, Puffin, Red Fang Fox, Rig of Charactercraft, Savvy the Nerd, Sister Lord, Still Whispers of War, Soylent Greener, Spaz Wesson, Sinistar, Pero, Pellenroyd, Uncle Will 6, Veteran Forces Gaming, and Zorts the Goblin. And thank you to Sizzle Lord for the bits this week. If you want to support the show financially, please go to support.gnomepodcast.com. And if you have Prime Gaming through Amazon Prime, you can use your free subscription on my channel and get access to ad-free viewing and awesome emotes. And all of your support goes helping support this labor of love. Thank you so much. Well, I am Frazley, and you can find the show at gnomepodcast.com. There you can catch past episodes and find out many of the places where you can subscribe to this show to get the Gnome Train coming to you every single week. Well, until next week, be awesome.
FrazlCast is a fan podcast that covers Blizzard games. We are not affiliated with Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. Views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own. Some of the art, music, and sound effects come from Blizzard games, and they are owned by Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. No copyright infringement is intended. This show is for the community, and it contains contributions from the community. The Gnome Train intro is by Allie of Dungeon Fables and All Things Azeroth. The opening music is by Brandon T. Blaylock. The Gnome Roar is by Jen of Morally Grey Podcast, and the Frazzle Pants bumper at the end is by the Scruffy Druid of Loot Optional and Viral Voice Arts.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.
It's been fun. Farewell!